This is Ecotricity's ecoTEC roundup show from Aotearoa's first and only climate-positive certified renewable electricity provider. We only source from wind, hydro and solar, and we are the leading supplier of electricity to EVs in Aotearoa. Switch today at ecotricity.co.nz. Welcome back to another roundup of news from the world of clean cars and green energy. Thanks for joining me. There are lots of news stories today, so we're going to get right on with the show and give you a mega roundup of good news, namely EV sales figures for September and or the third quarter. Don't worry, we're going to put all of the figures on screen, and some figures are just for the US, while others are global, which of course we'll note on screen. We start with Rivian, whose third quarter production and delivery figures showed it managed to produce 16,304 vehicles, up 17% on Q2. It managed to deliver 15,564 of those vehicles, a 23% quarter-on-quarter increase. Both figures beat Wall Street estimates of 14,000 units, which sent stock upwards. Meanwhile, Tesla, which had temporarily shut some of its production lines during the quarter for necessary upgrades for the refreshed Model 3, missed its global Q3 Wall Street estimates by producing 434,488 vehicles and delivering 435,059 vehicles. The latter figure is almost 7% lower than Q2's figures, but volumetrically, Tesla is still a long way ahead of everyone else. General Motors' US Q3 figures show that while production of Ultium platform EVs is starting to grow, the lion's share of its electric vehicle sales during the quarter, just over 20,000 EVs, come from Chevrolet Bolt EV and Bolt EUV sales, models that are due to end production later this year. Frustratingly too, while GM says it's all in on EVs, as Electrek noted this week, its overall EV market share is abysmally low for it to make such a statement. Ford's US electric vehicle sales during the third quarter, still a very small proportion of the brand's overall sales, snuck past GM with 20,962 vehicles sold. The majority of those came from the Mustang Mach-E, which sold 14,842 examples. The Ford E-Transit sold strongly too, but Ford's F-150 Lightning dropped during the quarter, due in part to a 6-week production line shutdown. One of the most impressive EV sales figures to report this week, though, comes from Hyundai, whose Ioniq 5 enjoyed a record-breaking September, with just shy of 4,000 examples sold in the US. That's not a record for the model. It sold more cars in July, but it is a September record and allowed the car to record 11,665 sales during the third quarter. Volvo, which says it's going to be 100% electric by 2030, also reported strong growth in its EV lineup, with its all-electric vehicle sales around the world growing by more than 52%. It saw it sell 9,205 EVs in September alone. That's 15% of the brand's overall sales and up 631% year-on-year. Reporting its Q3 sales figures, BMW reported US sales of 13,079 vehicles, up 202% year-on-year. The sales, split fairly evenly between iX, i4 and i7, represent 15.6% of all BMWs sold in the US during the quarter, and like Volvo, shows a strong interest as the brand tries to transition to an all-electric future. Fellow German brand Audi also recorded strong US sales during the third quarter, with its sales volumes doubling to 7,338 EVs, 93% more than it did last year. However, the EV market share isn't quite as healthy as it is for some of its legacy competitors, with EVs making up 12.7% of new Audis sold in the quarter. Volkswagen also broke its own US sales records for EVs during Q3, even though the brand's overall sales were down on previous years. A total of 10,707 Volkswagen ID.4s were sold in the US, 61% higher than the same time last year, and about one half of the number of EVs that GM and Ford sold, even though Volkswagen currently only has one EV in production for the US market. Of course, it's also worth noting that none of those legacy automakers are producing anywhere near Tesla volumes, but it is worth noting that Chinese startup NIO clearly has plans to reach Tesla-level volumes soon. It delivered an astonishing 15,641 EVs in September alone, giving a record third-quarter sales volume of 55,432 EVs. We frankly need every automaker hitting that kind of figure as a bare minimum. That monster list of sales out of the way, let's get on with some other stories from the week, and we're going to turn to Volvo now, which confirmed pricing for its EX30 EV on Monday. Revealed earlier this year, the EX30 is Volvo's smallest electric vehicle to date and will officially go on sale in the US later this year. Unlike some automakers who have been promising entry-level models and then reneging on those promises at the last minute, Volvo has confirmed that its entry-level EX30 rear-wheel drive will go on sale in the US from just over $36,000. That includes mandatory fees, but before any incentives. For 275 miles, 442 kilometres of range, I think this car is going to be very popular. Ford announced a new variant of the F-150 Lightning this week, the Ford F-150 Lightning Flash. Designed to sit in between the XLT and Lariat variants of the F-150 Lightning, it's being sold as a tech-centric variant of the all-electric pickup with just under $70,000 of sticker price. It has a large touchscreen, wireless phone charging, Bose sound system and Blue Cruise 2.0. It comes as standard with an extended range battery pack and new for this model year, a heat pump. That heat pump will also transfer to other F-150 Lightning models for the year as well, and interestingly, Ford just cancelled dealer orders of its 2023 model years to carry out what it says was additional quality control checks, and it claims give dealerships a chance to order the better spec'd 2024 model year versions. Even though it's been in production now for the better part of a year, Tesla has remained quite quiet about exact details of the Tesla Semi. But thanks to Jay Leno, who got a chance to drive one for his Jay Leno's Garage show this week, we learned some interesting facts about the vehicle and its production thus far. Driving the Tesla Semi while towing another Tesla Semi behind him, Leno was impressed with the vehicle, but we were most interested in some of the vehicle's specs. Apparently, the turning radius is about the same as a Tesla Model 3. There are significant parts crossovers between it and the upcoming Tesla Cybertruck, and thus far about 70 Tesla Semis have been made. Apparently, there's also a sleeper cab variant coming. The ongoing saga that is Lordstown Motors took another turn this week when it was confirmed that the besieged truck company, which is now in fire sale mode, has sold all of its assets to a company called LAS Capital LLC for $10 million. The majority equity holder of LAS Capital is none other than Steve Burns, original CEO of Lordstown Motors and former CEO of Workhorse. It was Steve Burns who originally struck the deal to establish the Lordstown production facility in Lordstown, Ohio, and it was Steve Burns who made lots of promises about the company's future. But after he was investigated by the board of directors in 2021, he abruptly left and slowly sold off all of his Lordstown stock right up until the company declared bankruptcy. Something really doesn't smell right here. We have some fantastic news for Kiwi buyers this week with the news that there's now an even cheaper EV on sale in Aotearoa, the Ora Cat, or as it's known now, the Ora. This week, Ora's parent company, Great Wall Motors, confirmed a price cut that places its entry-level standard range model from just 42,990 Kiwi dollars before any incentives are applied. This undercuts the previous Kiwi price champ, the MG4, by quite a bit. Throw in just over $7,000 you'll get from the government if you switch to an EV, and your effective price for a brand new Ora off the lot is about $35,975. Which is cheaper than a Toyota Corolla. If you haven't made the switch to an EV, there really is no better time and no excuses left. Before we get to those last two stories, I do have a quick question for you. Are you in the market for a new EV? Because if you are, and you live in Aotearoa, you should totally check out our very own buyer's guide at ecotricity.co.nz. It is packed with all the information you need to pick a car that's right for you, and includes tons of details about incentives you can get, charging providers you can use, and of course how to get clean, green, renewable energy at home. So follow the link below and start your journey today. Just released sales data from NZTA shows that in September, the Tesla Model Y was the most popular EV in the nation, with 697 vehicles registered. Beating out the nearest competitor, the Toyota RAV4 with 683 registrations, the Model Y's success is likely buoyed by the fact that you've been able to get a Model Y rear-wheel drive for some time in Aotearoa, even though it's only just gone on sale in the USA. At the same time, Tesla announced this week it's going to be opening up the Kiwi Supercharger network to non-Teslas on a trial basis, and with any luck, everyone with an EV will soon be able to use the Supercharger network in New Zealand very soon. And finally, if you've watched this show for any length of time, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of weird and wonderful electric vehicles. Because I'm weird and wonderful? In my time, I've owned plenty of small EVs that are officially microcars, and when a new one crosses my path, I have to check it out, which is why I got very excited this week to learn about the retro-designed ecoTEC Roadster. No, not Roadster, Rodster. It's an open-wheel two-seater that looks like it comes from the 1930s and even has those massive skinny tyres on glorious, huge spoked wheels. It's made by Slovak company BMW Motors and is technically an L7E quadricycle, so don't expect significant performance from it. Or indeed, best not introduce it to your Klingon friends, because apparently ecoTEC is quite the insult. And on that note, we're done for the day. Before I go though, do make sure you've hit the notification bell so you don't miss out in the latest in EV news from this channel. And if you haven't switched yet, it is time to switch to Aotearoa's first and only climate positive certified renewable electricity provider. It is super easy to make the switch, and you'll be helping the nation wean itself off dirty energy and onto clean green power that will keep the land beautiful for generations to come. I'll be back next week as usual, but in the meantime, don't forget to check out the very latest videos from Gavin, Kiwi EV Shoebridge, right here on this channel. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Nikki Gordon Bloomfield. Ka kite. See you next time.